Mathematicians, we are going to have the opportunity to review over the next uh, few days, a kind of mid-year review. So the concept I want to review with you today is rounding. Now, some of you may be very comfortable with rounding, others are still mastering it. I want to go over the steps with everyone, and then you can decide if this is a good strategy for you. I'll also show you a different strategy involving some more mental math, which might be better, depending on how comfortable you feel. So let's go through step by step. Follow along as I read. You'll underline the digit in the place value you're rounding to, circle that digit and all the digits to the left, draw an arrow to the digit to the right of your underlined one, and then this is kind of a fancy way to describe it mathematically, but the trick I like to use is 5 or above, give it a shove. Say that with me. 5 or above, give it a shove. And that means if the digit is a 5 or greater, you have to add 1 to the number you had circled. And if that digit is less than 5, you keep it all those circled numbers the same. And then all digits to the right become zeros. And the most important step in red, say it with me, think, does my answer make sense? Let's practice this. So these directions say round to the nearest 1,000. I'm going to pay attention to that. So in this number, let's read it together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, 3,450. What digit is in the thousands place? If you said 3, you are correct. So I underline the digit, check that step off. I'm going to circle that digit and all the digits to the left. In this case, there are none to the left, so just the 3. Okay, then I look to the right here. And it's a 4. So I'm thinking 5 or above, give it a shove. Well, it's only a 4. So that means everything's going to, or the circled numbers are going to stay the same. So the 3 stays a 3. And then my digits to the right become zeros. So I have 3 more digits. I need 3 more zeros. Then I go back and I add my comma. I think 1, 2, 3, comma. Okay, and then my most important step, think, does my answer make sense? 3,450 rounds down to 3,000. Does that seem reasonable? Yeah, so I know my answer makes sense. Now, again, that's a good step-by-step process if you're feeling insecure or you just feel you need the steps as an extra confidence boost to make sure you're doing your rounding correctly. Now, some of us are going to feel strongly that we have a good number sense and we can just kind of do this in our head, but you still have to explain it even if you did it in your head. So here's another way I might explain it. I might say 3,450. Well, the lower 1,000 would be 3,000, and the higher 1,000 would be 4,000. But I know since it has 450 in the hundreds place, it's going, excuse me, it's closer to 3,000. Okay, so that's another way you can do it with more mental math. But notice I was still able to explain my thinking. I didn't just say it's 3,000 because it's 3,000. No, I fully explained all my steps. Okay, let's try another example together, and I'm going to take you through the steps. Stay with me on these. So nearest thousand, let's read this number. I forgot to. 1, 2, 3. 123,516. Good to practice reading those really big numbers. We're in the hundred thousands place now, but still rounding to the nearest thousand. What digit is that? Hey, look, it's a 3 again. We've underlined it. We're going to circle the 3 and all the digits to the left. Then I look just to the right at that hundreds place here, and we say 5 or above, give it a shove. So this time, we did our arrow, but this time the digit's 5 or greater. It's exactly 5. So that means 123 over here is now going to become 124, right? We added 1 to our circle number. Okay, but then digits to the right become zeros. 1, 2, 3. because I had 3 digits. And finally, I'll go back out of my comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. And my most important step, think, does my answer make sense? 123,516, pretty close to 124,000? Yeah, that makes sense. It's not like I got 1,240,000. Then I would be a little worried. Okay, so we can check that off. And again, you may have used more mental math instead of using the steps. Either strategy is okay, but you still have to be able to explain. So let's say I had done this with more mental math. I would say, well, since my number is 123,516, I know the lower thousand would be just 123,000, and the higher thousand would be 124,000. But since there were 516 in the hundreds place, or even you could just say since there's a 5 in the hundreds place, I know I'm going to need to round up to 124,000. So did you hear all the math vocabulary I was using in there? Saying there was a 5 in my hundreds place, saying the lower thousand, using all that place value vocabulary. So that brings me to your home link for tonight. You're going to get a chance to round some numbers. I want you to pay close attention to what place they ask you to round to because it changes, right? In the first one, it's 100, nearest 100,000. Then it's nearest 1,000. Then it's nearest 100. So pay particular attention to that. And then my favorite problem on this whole home link is the one that asks you to explain. If you use the steps, you could say, I underlined the blank because it was in the hundreds place, and just go through step by step your thinking. So the keys to a good explanation are that you explain your steps. So you could use the steps I listed above, or if you were doing it with a little more mental math, you could explain the steps that you went through in your head, kind of like I talked through in the previous examples. And then a good explanation must also use math vocabulary. You must have those two things in your explanation to earn full credit on this one. Remember, in examples like this, vocabulary you'll probably use is the hundreds place, in the tens place. You'll want to use that place value vocabulary and that math vocabulary to explain clearly to your audience how you solved your problem. Good luck.